evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rez Night. I am your host, Benbe Kirax, and we have a great show for you tonight. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I am, of course, Benbe Kirax. Being the host of my own talk show is quite different from my previous job. But, you see, I think my show here is going to be a lot like what my commentary and wrestling jobs were at Virtual Wrestling Entertainment, VWE. I can tell you this, though, it's going to be very similar in that, well, there's going to be plenty of interviews, tons of action, and, of course, as always, the possibility of being cancelled by Rezzed.TV. So, please, sit back and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Benbe Kirax. It's great to be here, of course, as I've said before. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot today about what I was going to say when I first came out here, and I thought, well, why not just talk about things I found out about, things I've done, and pass that knowledge on to you good people. Well, to start off with, about last 6 months ago, I went to a little place called San Diego for convention you may or may not have heard called Comic-Con. And I went with a good friend of mine. I consider him a brother to me from another mother. And we went from Orange County down to San Diego. And of course, it's a bit of a trip, so as we're driving down there, we needed to take a rest stop. So we went into this rest stop, and we pulled in, got some snacks and everything, and on our way leaving, I saw probably the most random sight I have ever seen in my entire life. Aside from the internet, of course, but I looked up, and I turned my head to the right, and I saw this kind of nondescript white van over there. Didn't think much about it. Then, all of a sudden, I saw tons of people sitting around. And I thought, well, what are people doing? And I looked in the back of the van. There was a gentleman sitting there. And it was a Tibetan monk. Honest to God, in the entire orange robes, the prayer beads, shaved head, with the dots all over his head. It was so random, though. So my brother Jay and I, anytime there's a random moment, we'll always comment on Tibetan monk in a California rest stop. And of course, that wasn't the strangest thing we saw that evening, though. We went ahead and we went to SeaWorld. Very, very nice place. And we went to see the whole Shamu experience. And I saw that night one of the whales jumped up onto this watered platform they had and started to break dance. I'm not kidding. It would smack its tail against the floor and spin itself around. So Shamu did the spin-a-rooney, people. I cannot make that up. It was so hysterical to see that. And of course, Comic-Con itself was wonderful when I went there. And me being the nerd I am, yes, folks, the sooner you learn that about me now, the better off you are. I am a nerd. Yes, nerd in its fullest sense. I went to Comic-Con dressed up as a Jedi. But I had a lot of fun, of course. People asking me for autographs, for pictures, and it's like, well, I'm no one in, that anyone should really care about, but okay, here's my autograph. And it was quite a lot of fun. If you ever have the chance to go to Comic-Con, I highly recommend it. But coming back here now, I was looking up today, and I am never surprised by the news anymore. I really am not. Just so many things that sound completely unbelievable. You think it's made up. Honestly isn't. But, for example, I have one here that I found. There was a car thief, apparently, in Galveston, Texas, that criticized the mother for leaving her child in the car that he was stealing. That's right, this 22-year-old mother and her current boyfriend went out on the beach, and they left their child in the car. And they decided to leave the car running for the AC or whatever. Well, a homeless gentleman saw that they left the car running, obviously at the time didn't know they had the kid in, went in, got in the car, and then brought the car back, went and found the mother, and began to berate her for leaving the child in the car. And here's the best part. The district attorney has decided not to press charges against the thief. That is something that I like to call karma. But speaking about cars, Google Street View, which, as everyone knows, is kind of a hot button topic. Some people like it, some people don't. They feel it's an invasion of privacy. Well, in the case of Germany, some people would have rather preferred that they not driven by, as apparently in Germany, there is a picture on Google Street View now of a man leaving the trunk of a car completely naked. The trunk is open, the man is getting out of the car stark naked, and it looks like there's a bottle of ammonia next to the car and a dead dog. So, all I can say is, it's where one of our producers, Ludi Graves, comes from, so I really gotta question what he was doing last Friday night. But actually, last Friday night, VWE, the company that I work for, VWE, last Friday, had one of its bigger free previews called Old School, where it was a throwback to a lot of, the old WWF style of wrestling, things like that, old matches with time limits, and they had one match that had two individuals in it, Hulk Parkin and Randy Orchid. And let me tell you, I haven't seen someone talk that long about themselves, loving themselves all that much since I looked in the mirror today. But another interesting point, though, is that in the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, VWE had planned Old School about a month or so, in advance, completely planned out. WWE, a week before our free preview happens in VWE, the WWE announces that the Raw, on the weekend that Old School is happening, they are going to be having Old School Raw. And it was very interesting, and a lot of old school matches, the time limits, everything just being thrown back to the past, exactly like how our free preview was. And the only thing that I can figure is that, well, maybe WWE's watching us. But, that's insane, it'd be like, of course, if John Cena gets his talk show, then I'm gonna have to be a little suspicious. Well, folks, we've already been going for a good few minutes here, and this has already lasted longer than my wrestling career, so I have to say I'm surprised. I honestly thought we would have been canceled already. But going back to some news that I found here, there was apparently a fake doctor in bars, I believe in the Boise area, in Idaho, who went around and claimed that they were a doctor to, get this, give breast exams to women. And this person is currently under arrest. And I thought to myself, you know, claiming a breast inspector, that's not really a crime. I've heard plenty of people use that pickup line on a daily basis. Granted, you know, a lot of times it kind of runs out when you're 15, you know, the joke's no longer funny, but I guess this person decided to stick with it and is currently being held for bond at $100,000. And that's not all, though. Apparently also gave a number of a plastic surgeon to people to call. But I really cannot believe, you know, the depths some people will go to. But there was also another interesting story I heard about a Florida woman who is claiming that a debt collector is harassing her via Facebook. And the debt collector apparently asking, you know, friends and family about her and things like that. And I'm kind of two minds of this. You know, obviously, well, one, you're not going to like debt collectors anyway. You know, they're debt collectors. That name in and of itself is about as cuddly as, you know, a razor grizzly bear. You're not going to want to have that be associated with you. But, you know, I can think the debt collector is just trying to do his job in a very efficient way. And on the other hand, if the woman is really that bothered by it, you do have the potential to block the person. So I don't know why she isn't, you know, just saying, oh, hey, block. But instead, of course, she's trying to sue, and we'll see how well that goes for her. I'm suing because I have debt. Yeah. See how long that lasts in front of a judge. But anywho, folks, we're going to go ahead and, I believe, in a bit, get started here with my first guest on VWE Rez Night, Stuart Warf, who is the owner of Rezzed.TV. And then we have Phaylen Fairchild coming up. So, stay tuned.
Last year, VWE brought to you the biggest event in SL Sports Entertainment. Once a year, an event comes along so big that people remember. Setting the records, making names. It is a night of champions, a night of superstars, and a night of legends. And 1 year later, it's back. December 10th, 2010, 4 p.m. SL time. VWE brings to you Wrestle Series 2, live only on Rezzed.TV.
Well, our first guest tonight, I'd like to call him a friend, but unfortunately I can't. He's my boss. Stuart Warf joined Second Life in May of 2006 when the podcasting community discovered Second Life and saw potential in it for a show promotion. Since then, Stuart has been involved in various activities from hosting game shows to running a TV network. In January 2008, he launched the Rezzed.TV network, which gets 120,000 plus visitors each year and growing all the time. So please welcome Stuart Warf. Stuart, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me here, Ben.
So, Stuart, how does it feel to finally be in front of the camera?
I gotta be honest, man, it's pretty weird. After all the times of filming for wrestling and for Phoenix Hours and all the stuff I film, it's weird for me to be on camera, and it's, I have to, congratulate Seth for basically taking his first ever step in producing a TV show, because seriously, weight off my shoulders. But yeah, I'm happy for you guys for at least doing your first show, so yeah, let's be here.
Well, I know we're all proud to be a part of this. So, Stuart, how did you come up with the idea for Rezzed.TV?
So, coming up with the idea for Rezzed.TV was, it was kind of a long road coming, because I've been thinking about doing a TV, well, not a TV network, it was just a podcast network at first. Back in 2006 is when it first hit me in my brain for an idea, but I never had the time to do the network, and it kept playing over my mind through 2006 and 2007, and it was a Christmas 2007 when I kind of just thought, it's probably just the beer at Christmas or something, but I just thought, hey, let's just do it, and that's how it kind of began, a drunken night at Christmas.
Well, that's probably how most stories I've heard start out with. So what's been the most challenging aspect of running this company and your site?
That's a difficult question. I'd say it's just making sure it runs smoothly is always hard, because pretty much I can say I've not had a week where there's not been a problem. There's always something popping up where I've got to deal with it. Obviously, it's challenging when you're starting from nothing to kind of gain a user base and, have people watching the shows. It's promotion. That's one of the challenging aspects. Also, getting sponsors is probably the hardest thing, because it's always hard to convince people to part with money to advertise on a
Of course.
network. But I think it's just hard not to do it, if anything.
Right. Well, you don't want your ideas to go stale. Of course, I understand that. So, what about, aside from this show, of course, right now, what has been your favorite show?
I won't say this is my favorite show yet, but I'd have to say probably I've got two favorites right now. My main favorite one is the first show I ever really did, which was the Pod Mafia podcast. But just because it's it's your first time, it's like anything that's your first time, it's always special to you. And I've been doing that show since August 2006, which is a long time, really. And my other favorite show is the one we started on earlier this year, because which is the wrestling show, and the reason I love that show so much is because I used to watch WWE when I was 10, and I grew out of it, but then when it coming in Second Life, it's just kind of like come back to me, and I've been really enjoying doing that show.
Right.
even
Right.
though I'm not on it. But I just love filming it every.
Of course, of course. Well, so what can you tell us, though, exactly is the process of starting a new show on Rezzed.TV?
Well, the process of starting a new show. Usually it just starts with someone coming up to me saying, "Hey, I've got an idea for a show," and I will always try and make time to listen to the show. I give a lot of shows, unless it's pretty awful. I usually give shows a chance because I'm always looking for new, different ideas. I don't like rehashing the same old stuff. To be honest, it's why I took wrestling on board in the first place. It was a different thing for me to do, because there's so many things in SL where it's the same thing that, it's just nice to have something that's different. And again,
Right, of
for
course.
example, you came to me saying, well, Seth actually came to me saying he wanted to do a talk show, and kind of similar to Conan O'Brien, and and I like the idea, and obviously we're here right now.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, and any upcoming shows or series that you have planned that you can let us know about or keep an eye out for?
There's always new shows coming. I'd say right now there's probably 7 to 8 projects we're working on right now, which is a lot.
Oh yeah.
Obviously this show launching now. I guess our next project is the relaunch of our news on the network. We used to do a daily news show called News Daily. I love doing that. It became kind of a real challenge to be looking at the news every day, trying to find people to be on the show to be commentators on it for each day, and just kind of fell by the wayside. But we're relaunching as RTV News, which is a foray into video news, which will be produced by the same person who's actually doing this show as well. RTV News is next, and next year we've got, I don't want to say too much about it, but we've got 2 drama shows that are coming up, which are really different, and I'm really excited to be developing on those. I'll probably be finishing off the scripts for that in Christmas time, but yeah.
Well, everything seems to get done around here for Christmas, so Stu, I want to thank you for letting us in on all that and what's to come. Folks, be sure to stay tuned with Rezzed.TV. Check their website for everything coming up. And Stu, I want to thank you for being my first guest on here and for not canceling us right immediately. So, all right.
Last year, VWE brought to you the biggest event in SL Sports Entertainment. Once a year, an event comes along so big that people remember. Setting the records, making names. It is a night of champions, a night of superstars, and a night of legends. And 1 year later, it's back. December 10th, 2010, 4 p.m. SL time. VWE brings to you Wrestle Series 2, live only on Rezzed.TV.
guest, one of the longest running members of Second Life, joining Second Life in late 2002, pretty much being on longer than most of the employees at Linden Labs. She was a regular contributor to IGN. Some recent activities include the popular comedy Divas, which combines Second Life with World of Warcraft, and hosting the Phoenix Hour, and a 15-minute machinima film called Harbinger. Ladies and gentlemen, Phaylen Fairchild.
Oh, thank you. God, there's still people here, thank God.
Yes, thanks for all 5 of you coming out tonight. better than Kevin Federline autograph session. So
you're doing well.
Yes. So Phaylen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I have, of course, some questions to ask you.
Great, I'm sure I can think of a couple for you too.
All right. So, how did you discover Second Life?
Oh, God, that's a long... Let me see. I will try to give you the Reader's Digest. I'll give you the blonde version, honey, because I see you have your blonde wig on, so I'll go really quick. What actually happened was I was playing a different game. I've always been a gamer girl. I was playing Dark Age of Camelot at the time, and I kind of just burned out, and I was looking for something new. So I ran across this website that had different alphas and betas that were currently ongoing. And I went and one was for a program called like Linden World or something like that. And so what you had to do there was you had to send an email to somebody. I believe it was somebody at the one of the head people. And so I sent an email and said I was interested in trying it. And then like 12 hours later, they got back with me with a login and a download for the client. So literally within a couple of days, I logged in and I thought I was looking for something to kill. I wonder how to get experience. What was I supposed to do? And I read the box on the ground, accidentally. And then I was like, I tried to move away from it like a bad smell because I got embarrassed. I didn't know how to pick it up. So I was just kind of leave it behind, and try to move away from it. But I ended up logging out and I thought that sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. So, and it ended up about 3 months later, I came back to give it a new little try, and I ended up meeting some people who weren't there my first time around. I mean, when I was there, it was virtually empty. It was like this wasteland. I just didn't get it. But I actually ran into somebody. Some chick fell out of the sky and almost landed on me, and her name was Dana Crash, by the way. And so we became friends, and I never left. I stayed. I watched it evolve all this time.
Well, that's very good. So, speaking of watching things, how have you observed Second Life change over the years that you've participated in it?
Oh, God. What's the rating of this show? Okay, well, I have seen Second Life go through incredible changes. Obviously, it started out just from something as simple as us trying to determine how AOs were going to work, or, people holding protests about how we sat, which really brought on the animation overrider wave. And then, whether we were going to have taxes just on lighted objects, and the introduction of lighted objects, the introduction of flexies, the introduction of, all the different elements up to where we are now. So it's been an interesting evolution to sit and watch. I've seen so many Linden employees come and go. I've seen so many residents, close friends, become Lindens and then go. So it's really sort of it's quite a complex history that I have with Second Life and Linden Lab collectively. So it's interesting to see where it goes next.
Well, that's very good. So, how did you start the Divas Machinima series?
I wrote a screenplay, and it was an unproduced screenplay, and it was about a black transsexual Mary Kay lady from Iowa, who was 6 feet tall, and I had written the role for Damon Wayans, and in that film she sort of had a counterpart that was sort of like the evil no-gooder, which was to be played by Molly Shannon. And so it ended up not going through, it ended up not being produced. So I decided all these years later, well, I really liked that character. And while Phaylen isn't black and she's not a transsexual, well, I guess that's arguable. If you ask some people, they do think I'm a drag queen, which I don't mind one bit. However, so, I thought it would be fun to sort of adapt that personality, that sort of naivety, that good-heartedness, that sort of ditzy nature into a character and incorporate, other people and take them along for the ride. And I was very lucky that I met, amazing people to play with.
Well, that's very, very interesting. Now, going on to your other machinima project, which I enjoyed very much, by the way, Harbinger. I've got to ask, of course, what was your inspiration for Harbinger?
To be very honest with you, my inspiration was that I wanted to do something for Halloween. Halloween is my favorite time of year. I'm as old as I am. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm as old as I am, and I still love Halloween. I totally get it. I feel like a little kid every Halloween, and I wanted to do something really awesome and really fun and really scary for Halloween, and so I made that film. I thought how we might use virtual worlds. How could I convincingly use my virtual world and my machinima knowledge to make a scary film? So that's actually how Harbinger came to pass.
It was a very well done. I personally loved it, but what has other people in the community, what have they perceived it as? That's a really interesting question. A lot of people really enjoy it. I mean, it's been called compelling, thought-provoking, a game changer, things like that. But also, there is a demographic, that has pulled more political undertones from it, I guess, and that being the more critical elements of privacy and anonymity online, and using discretion and sort of bringing down the veil on this false blanket of security, and so a lot of people said that it actually terrified them because they realized that maybe they were too loose-lipped. Not my intention at all. Yeah. It's how art is perceived through each person's eyes, but...
Well, absolutely, yes. It's got to go take a life of its own. And obviously Harbinger is really, I guess maybe I am as naive as my Divas character. I just thought I was making a horror film that people would be able to love and enjoy and watch with their friends around Halloween. I wasn't making a public service announcement. It sort of became something bigger than what it was, but that's what happens with a good film. I think a lot of people assign it its own purposes, and that's what makes it really good and what makes it resonate.
Right. So, you've worked with IGN on a regular basis. How was that?
I worked with IGN in 2005 on a regular basis. I worked for their World of Warcraft portal, funnily enough, because around that time I was playing World of Warcraft. I don't now, oddly enough. I don't play World of Warcraft now, but I was one of their contributing editors at IGN.
And now you've got a couple of projects in the work here, coming up very soon. Actually, Bar Karma, I believe.
Bar Karma is a project that many people collaborated with Will Wright, the creator of The Sims, on. And basically what happened was Will and his producer Albie had gotten together a collective of people, a small collective of people, to flesh out a sitcom for national television. And I did the character design for the characters in Bar Karma, which, we were dubbed the Creation Project. And it's actually now that they've moved into production and it's open, other people are encouraged to participate. What's excellent about Bar Karma is it's the first interactive television show. So the community of watchers, the fans, can actually write the show if they want to, or participate in the writing of it. Very, very early on in the beta phase of this, there was about 20 of us that were invited to actually just flesh out a storyline and concept to let them run with. So we created Bar Karma, and then now any of you can go and write for Bar Karma if you like. It's called The Creation Project. It's going to be on Current TV. It premieres November 20th at 10 Central.
All right. Well, that sounds like a very interesting project. I hope a lot of visitors do come and contribute to that site. It sounds like a very ambitious project. So, what was it? Did you actually get to speak with or meet Will Wright in person?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. There was their producer Albie's the one that initiated contact with me, and it was because of the stuff they had seen on YouTube.
Right.
And then obviously my website. And there were other independent filmmakers there that were either internet filmmakers or, real world filmmakers in some context, or writers. And then once we collaborated, and then the door was open to others, to the larger community to come in and sort of fill in the blanks and create new subplots for the show.
Well, that sounds like, as I said, very, very interesting subject. And of course, I'm sure we will help people out and give them links to everything they need to go. I'm sure Stuart will be willing to help out with that.
Right. Oh, that would be great. And just before we go, I do have to say that community in Second Life has always been very important to me, and more recently, and much to my sadness, we've recently lost one of our own, who was a kidney recipient, and one of her passions and one of the things that she evangelized was something that I'm going to discuss just briefly, which was the International Paired Exchange, and in that it allows people with needs to find acceptable donors from anywhere in the world. And I just want to point out to your audience and to your viewers that if they're interested in donating to that, or if they're interested in looking into it or supporting it in any fashion, the web address is http://kdigo.org, and that is for Delinda.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Sorry for your loss, but I know that people like that do very, very good work to help out a lot of needy people.
Yes, she did amazing work. Amazing work.
Well, that's all the questions I've had for you, so wanted to thank you for joining us, and Stuart as well, and for everyone in the audience for joining us here on Rez Night. So I am Benbe Kirax, and want to thank each and every one of you again, and hope you stayed in tune next time, as long as we, God willing, don't get canceled. So, thanks for joining us.